The red warning lights flashed across the command center as Captain Heon stared at the massive alien ship floating above Earth. The ship was bigger than any city he had ever seen. It had been there for 3 days now, just waiting. The silence was worse than any threat. "Sir, we're receiving another transmission," said Lieutenant Kim from her station. Her voice was tight with worry. Jan nodded. "Put it through." The screen filled with the image of something that looked like a giant insect wearing armor. Its voice was like metal scraping against stone. "Humans of Earth, you have resisted our empire for too long. We have conquered 17 star systems. Each one fell to our greatest weapon. You have 24 hours to surrender, or we will release the Devourer upon your world." The transmission cut off. Jan felt his stomach drop. He had heard stories about the Devourer from other planets that had tried to warn Earth. It was a creature of nightmares. 12 feet tall, covered in black scales with tentacles that could crush a car. Its mouth was filled with teeth like broken glass, and its saliva could melt through steel. "Get me Dr. Nari and Jiwon on the line," Jan ordered. "We need our best scientists on this." 20 minutes later, Dr. Nari arrived at the command center. She was a small woman with sharp eyes who had spent her life studying alien life forms. Behind her came Jiwon, a young scientist who knew more about alien biology than anyone on Earth. "Captain, what do we know about this Devourer?" Dr. Nari asked, pulling up a chair. Jan brought up the files on his screen. "Reports from survivors say it's designed to spread terror. It doesn't just kill quickly. It hunts slowly, making noise, letting people know it's coming. The fear breaks people's will to fight before the creature even reaches them." Jiwon frowned as she read through the data. "This doesn't make sense from a biological standpoint. Why would evolution create something that announces itself to prey? That's the opposite of how predators work." "Maybe it didn't evolve naturally," Dr. Nari said quietly. Before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the base. On the main screen, they watched as a large pod separated from the alien mothership. It was heading straight for Earth, glowing red as it entered the atmosphere. "Impact zone appears to be the outskirts of Seoul," reported Lieutenant Kim. "Civilian areas. Get our teams ready," Hyun ordered. "Full evacuation of the area. I want a 5-kilometer safe zone around that impact site." The pod crashed into a field just outside the city with enough force to shake buildings kilometers away. Steam rose from the crater as military vehicles surrounded the area. News helicopters circled overhead, their cameras broadcasting to the world. Minho was closing his veterinary clinic when he felt the ground shake. He looked up to see military trucks racing past his window. His 8-year-old daughter Sola ran to his side. "Papa, what's happening?" she asked. Before he could answer, his neighbor burst through the door. "Minho, something crashed in the field behind the market." "The soldiers are telling everyone to stay inside, but people are going to look anyway." Minho had always been curious by nature. It was what made him good with animals. He grabbed his medical bag and looked at Sola. "Stay here with Mrs. Park." "No way," Sola said, crossing her arms. "I'm coming with you." The field was chaos when they arrived. Military vehicles had set up a perimeter, but hundreds of people pressed against the barriers trying to see what was in the smoking crater. Minho used his clinic credentials to get closer to the front lines. That's when they heard it, a sound like a whale's song mixed with a lion's roar. It was sad and angry at the same time. The crowd fell silent. "It's waking up," someone whispered. The creature that climbed out of the crater was everything the reports had described and worse. Its black scales gleamed in the afternoon sun. Tentacles writhed around its massive body like angry snakes. When it opened its mouth, rows of razor-sharp teeth caught the light. Acidic drool hissed as it hit the ground. People screamed and ran. Soldiers raised their weapons, but Minho noticed something that made him step forward instead of back. "Papa, don't!" Sola grabbed his arm. "Look at its eyes," Minho said softly. "Really look." Sola stared at the creature. Its eyes were large and dark, but they weren't filled with hunger or anger. They looked confused, scared. "It's not hunting," Minho realized. "It's lost." The Devourer let out another cry, turning its head back and forth. Its tentacles weren't reaching out to grab prey. They were feeling around like a blind person's hands. Trying to understand this new place, Dr. Nari and G1 arrived just as the creature took its first steps out of the crater. Dr. Nari immediately began setting up scanning equipment while G1 pulled out a tablet to record. "Everything. Fascinating," G1 murmured. "Look at how it moves. Those aren't the movements of a natural predator." "What do you mean?" asked the military commander on site. Predators move with purpose. They scan for prey, they position themselves for attacks. This creature is displaying classic signs of confusion and stress. See how it keeps touching things with its tentacles? That's exploratory behavior. The devourer had found a military jeep and was gently poking it with one tentacle. When the metal didn't react, it moved onto a tree, touching the bark with what almost looked like curiosity. "Should we shoot it?" the commander asked. "No," Minho said, stepping forward. He was still carrying his veterinary bag. "Give me 10 minutes. Are you insane?" the commander shouted. "That thing will kill you." "I don't think it will," Minho replied. He looked back at Sola, who nodded encouragingly. "I've worked with scared animals my whole life. This creature is scared, not angry." Before anyone could stop him, Minho ducked under the barrier and walked slowly toward the devourer. The creature noticed him immediately, turning its massive head to watch this small human approaching. Minho stopped about 10 meters away and sat down on the ground. He opened his bag and pulled out a package of dried fish treats he used for difficult cats. The smell carried on the wind. The devourer's nostrils flared. It took a tentative step forward, then another. Its movements were careful, almost gentle. "Easy," Minho said in the same soft voice he used with frightened animals. "I'm not going to hurt you." The creature stopped just out of arm's reach. Up close, Minho could see scars on its scales, old wounds that spoke of pain and mistreatment. This wasn't a monster that had been born to kill. This was something that had been made into a weapon. Minho tossed one of the fish treats toward the creature. It landed between them. The devourer looked at the treat, then at Minho, then carefully picked up the food with the tip of one tentacle. It sniffed the treat for a long moment before eating it. Then, for the first time since emerging from the crater, the creature made a different sound. Not a roar or a cry, but something almost like a purr. "Well," Dr. Nari said quietly, watching from behind the barrier, "this is unexpected." Above them, the alien mothership waited for reports of terror and destruction. But all their sensors showed was one small human sitting peacefully next to their greatest weapon, feeding it treats like it was an oversized pet. The invasion was not going according to plan. The next morning, Dr. Nari stood at the edge of the military perimeter with her tablet full of readings. She had spent all night analyzing the data from the creature, and none of it made sense according to what they knew about the devourer. "The brain scans are fascinating," she told Captain Heon over the phone. "This creature shows signs of high intelligence, but there are these strange patterns, like something is blocking certain neural pathways." Captain Heon was watching the live feed from the field. The devourer was lying in the grass like a giant cat, while Minho sat nearby reading a book. Every few minutes, the creature would reach out with a tentacle to gently touch Minho's shoulder, as if making sure he was still there. "Any signs of aggression?" Hyun asked. "None. If anything, it seems to be bonding with Minho. We need to study this more, but I recommend keeping our distance for now." "No," came Minho's voice. He had been listening on the radio. "Distance is the last thing this creature needs." Dr. Nari frowned. "Minho, you're not a scientist. You don't understand the risks." "I understand animals," Minho replied. "And I understand trauma. This creature has been hurt badly. Isolation will only make it worse." Sola had spent the night at the military base, refusing to leave while her father was in the field. Now she pressed her face against the fence, watching the devourer. "Papa's right," she said to anyone who would listen. "Look how sad it looks when Papa walks away." She was right. Every time Minho moved more than a few meters from the creature, it would make soft whimpering sounds and reach out with its tentacles until he came back. Jiwon walked up to Dr. Nari with a thick folder of papers. "I've been going through all the biological data from other planets. Doctor, I think we've been looking at this wrong." "What do you mean?" "Look at the muscle structure, the bone density, the brain-to-body ratio. This creature wasn't designed to be a predator. Its body is built for lifting, carrying, and manipulating objects. Its brain shows areas that should be used for problem-solving and social bonding." Dr. Nari looked at the papers, then at the creature in the field. "You're saying this is a tool user? A social species? I'm saying this creature was probably peaceful before the aliens got their hands on it." That afternoon, Minho convinced the military to let him try something new. He had gone to the fish market and bought several large fish. The devourer watched with interest as he approached with the food. "Let's see what you can really do," Minho said softly. Instead of cutting up the fish, He handed one whole fish to the creature. The devourer took it gently with its tentacles, but instead of tearing into it with its teeth, it did something remarkable. Using its smaller tentacles like fingers, it carefully cleaned the fish and removed the bones before eating only the meat. Did you see that? Jiwan called out to Dr. Nari. Those are tool-use behaviors. Over the next hour, Minho gave the creature various objects to examine. A rubber ball, a metal wrench, a piece of rope. Each time the devourer would examine the object carefully with its tentacles before either playing with it or setting it aside. The creature showed clear preferences and decision-making abilities, but the most amazing moment came when Sola finally convinced her father to let her approach the fence. Hello, she said in a clearer voice. The devourer's head turned toward her immediately. It made a series of soft sounds, almost like it was trying to copy her voice. Help, low, came a deep, rumbling attempt at the word. Everyone fell silent. The creature had just tried to speak. Sola grinned and clapped her hands. You're smart, aren't you? The creature made happy purring sounds and reached a tentacle toward the fence. Sola, ignoring the protests of every adult present, reached through the fence to touch the tentacle. The creature's skin was warm and smooth, not slimy like everyone expected. Papa, can I give it a name? Sola asked. Minho smiled. What would you like to call it? Buddy, she said without hesitation. Because that's what it wants to be, as if it understood. The creature made more happy sounds and gently wrapped its tentacle around Sola's arm in what could only be described as a hug. That evening, Captain Hyan received an angry transmission from the alien mothership. Human commander, the insect-like alien said, its voice filled with confusion and rage. Why do your people not flee in terror? Why do they approach our weapon with food instead of weapons? Hyan looked at the alien calmly. Maybe because we see a frightened creature that needs help, not a weapon. Impossible. The devourer has destroyed cities. It has broken the will of entire species. Then maybe you've been using it wrong. The transmission cut off abruptly. Dr. Nari and Jiwan spent the night setting up more equipment. They wanted to run cognitive tests on the creature. Buddy, as everyone was now calling it. The next morning, they discovered that Buddy had spent the night carefully arranging the objects Minho had given it into neat piles organized by size and material. Tool organization. Jiwan breathed. This is advanced intelligence. They started with simple tests. They showed Buddy pictures of different shapes and asked it to point to matching objects. Buddy scored perfectly. They gave it puzzles designed for dolphins and great apes. Buddy solved them faster than most humans could. But the real breakthrough came when they brought a computer tablet with a simple drawing program. Buddy took one look at the tablet, then used its tentacles to draw a crude but recognizable picture of itself standing next to stick figures of humans. Under the drawing, it tapped out a series of dots and lines. It's trying to communicate, Dr. Nari said in amazement. This pattern looks almost like Morse code, Jiwan finished, but simplified. Working together, they developed a basic communication system. Buddy was incredibly fast at learning. Within hours, it could tap out simple words and phrases. Its first clear message made everyone's eyes water. Hurt. Long time. Alone. Scared. Minho sat down next to Buddy and gently patted its side. You're not alone anymore. Buddy's response was immediate. Friends? Yes, Minho said. Friends. That night, as military guards watched in amazement, Buddy carefully picked flowers from the field and arranged them in a circle around where Minho slept. The gesture was so clearly one of protection and affection that even the most skeptical soldiers began to see the creature differently. Meanwhile, aboard the alien mothership, the Krythan commander Zakthol paced angrily in his command chamber. How is this possible? He demanded of his science officer. The devourer has conditioning implants. It should be incapable of this behavior. Sir, perhaps the human's approach has somehow damaged the implants? Impossible. Those implants have never failed. Zakthul stopped pacing and turned to his weapons officer. Prepare the next phase. If one devourer will not break them, we will send 5. Sir, if we lose 5 devourer, we will not lose them. Zakthul slammed his claw on the control panel. These humans will learn to fear us or they will die. But down on Earth, Buddy was teaching Sola a simple game with the colored stones from the field, making gentle sounds that almost sounded like laughter. For the first time in years, the creature that had once been the Krythan Empire's greatest weapon was happy. The humans had done something no other species had ever thought to try. Instead of fighting the monster, they had befriended it. And that simple act of kindness was about to change the course of an interstellar war. Sola had become famous overnight. Her videos of Buddy playing with a traffic cone had been viewed by 50 million people in just 2 days. The image of an 8-year-old girl giving head scratches to humanity's supposed destroyer was being shared across every social media platform on Earth. "Look at this one." "Papa," Sola said, showing Minho her tablet. The video showed Buddy carefully picking up a kitten that had wandered into the field and gently setting it down in a safe spot. "Everyone says Buddy is the sweetest monster ever." Minho smiled as he prepared Buddy's breakfast. The creature had developed a taste for salmon and vegetables, which Minho chopped into precise pieces. "Buddy isn't a monster at all, is he?" As if hearing his name, Buddy approached and tapped out a message on his communication board. "Good morning, friends." "Good morning." "Buddy," Sola replied, giving the creature's nearest tentacle a hug. Dr. Nari arrived with exciting news. "Minho, we've made a breakthrough. Those neural implants G1 detected, we think we can remove them." "What kind of implants?" Minho asked, though he suspected he already knew. "Control devices. They appear to be suppressing Buddy's natural personality and forcing aggressive responses to certain stimuli. The fact that Buddy is so peaceful now suggests the implants are malfunctioning or shutting down." Before Minho could respond, alarms began sounding across the base. Captain Hyun's voice came over the loudspeakers. "All personnel to stations. We have multiple contacts incoming." On the main screen, they watched as 5 more pods separated from the alien mothership. The Krithan Empire was escalating. "Impact zones across 5 continents," reported Lieutenant Kim. "London, Tokyo, New York, Cairo, and Sydney." Minho looked at Buddy, who had gone very still. The creature's tentacles were trembling and it was making distressed sounds. "More like me." Buddy tapped urgently. "Hurting, scared, help them." "Can you help us communicate with them?" Dr. Nari asked. "Yes, they remember before bad things we were pack." Captain Hyun was coordinating with military forces around the globe. "We need teams of veterinarians and animal behaviorists at each crash site immediately. Follow the Seoul Protocol. Do not engage with weapons unless absolutely necessary." The first crisis came from London. The devourer that landed there was more aggressive than Buddy had been. It had destroyed several cars and was roaring challenges at the military forces surrounding it. "It's not working," came the report from the British commander. "The creature won't respond to our approaches." "Get me a video link to London," Minho said to Dr. Nari, "and bring Buddy to the communication station." Within minutes, they had a live video feed from London. Buddy could see his fellow creature on the screen, pacing and agitated in the center of a crater. Buddy began making a series of complex sounds, low rumbles and high-pitched whistles. The London devourer stopped moving immediately. Its head turned as if it could hear Buddy across the ocean. "How is that possible?" Dr. Nari asked. "Sound travels differently in their home environment," G1 explained, pulling up her research. "They might be using frequencies we can barely detect." The London creature began to calm down. It made responding sounds, and soon it was sitting peacefully while British veterinarians approached with food. "It's working," came the report from London. "The creature is responding to our team." Similar scenes played out in Tokyo, New York, Cairo, and Sydney. In each location, Buddy's long-distance communication helped calm the newly arrived creatures. Within hours, all 5 devourers were peacefully interacting with humans. The internet exploded with videos. A devourer in Tokyo was helping construction workers move heavy beams with its powerful tentacles. In New York, one was playing basketball with teenagers, gently tossing the ball through hoops with perfect accuracy. The Cairo devourer had discovered it loved the taste of dates and was trading gentle head pats for fruit from local vendors. But it was the Sydney devourer that provided the biggest surprise. Dr. Sarah Chen, a marine biologist, noticed that the creature kept trying to enter the harbor. "I think it wants to swim," she reported to the global coordination team. When they finally allowed the creature into the water, something amazing happened. The devourer transformed from a clumsy land animal into a graceful swimmer. It dove deep and began bringing up shells and interesting rocks, arranging them on the beach in beautiful patterns. "They're artists," G1 said in amazement. "In their natural environment, they're artists and builders." Buddy confirmed this with his communication board. "We made beautiful things. before pain machines. Dr. Nari and her team worked around the clock to understand the neural implants. Using scans from all 6 creatures, they mapped out the control systems. It's horrible, Dr. Nari told Captain Hyon. These implants don't just control aggression. They suppress creativity, curiosity, and social bonding. They turn these intelligent, artistic creatures into living weapons. Can we remove them safely? We think so, but we'll need to start with one volunteer to test the procedure. Buddy immediately volunteered. Want to be whole again, he tapped out. The surgery took place the next morning. Minho and Sola stayed by Buddy's side as Dr. Nari's team carefully removed the small device from the base of the creature's skull. The operation was broadcast live to the other sites, so teams worldwide could learn the procedure. When Buddy woke up, the change was immediate and dramatic. His eyes seemed brighter, more alert. He looked around the medical tent as if seeing everything for the first time. Colors, he tapped out with excitement. So many colors. Beautiful. What they hadn't realized was that the implants had been suppressing parts of Buddy's vision. He could now see the full spectrum of light, and the world looked completely different to him. But the biggest change was emotional. Buddy began making complex musical sounds, harmonies and melodies that brought tears to everyone's eyes. Dr. Nari realized they were listening to Buddy's natural language for the first time. Family, Buddy sang in his new voice, looking at Minho and Sola. My family. That evening, Buddy taught Sola a simple song in his language. They sat in the field as the sun set, a small girl and a giant alien creature making music together. News channels around the world showed similar scenes. The Tokyo Devourer, after having its implant removed, had spent hours building an intricate sculpture from discarded metal. The London creature was working with local artists to create the largest mural in the city's history. Aboard the Krythan mothership, Commander Zakthul was furious. Impossible, he raged. No species has ever responded this way to the Devourers. Sir, his science officer said nervously, perhaps we underestimated human psychology. They seem to respond to threats with curiosity rather than fear. Then we will give them something truly terrifying. Prepare the battle Devourers. Sir, those creatures are unstable. We've never deployed them on a populated world. I don't care. These humans must be broken. But on Earth, something wonderful was happening. The 6 liberated creatures were learning to be themselves again. They painted, they sang, they played. They helped humans with heavy construction work and underwater exploration. They taught human children games from their homeworld and learned human games in return. Most importantly, they remembered their past. Through careful communication, Dr. Nari learned that the creatures called themselves the Nurthak. They had once been a peaceful species that lived on ocean worlds, building beautiful cities beneath the waves. The Krythan Empire had enslaved them hundreds of years ago, turning their gentle giants into weapons of war. How many more are out there? Minho asked Buddy. Many, Buddy replied sadly. Thousands, all hurting, all alone. Not anymore, Sola said firmly. We're going to help them all. Buddy looked at this small human child who spoke with such certainty. How? Easy, Sola said, grinning. We're going to teach the whole galaxy how to make friends with monsters. Above them, the Krythan mothership prepared to unleash something even more terrible upon Earth. But they had made a crucial mistake. They still thought they were dealing with a planet that could be broken by fear. They didn't understand that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their ability to see a friend in every frightened creature, no matter how big or scary it looked. Commander Zakthul of the Krythan Empire stood in his command chamber, watching the impossible scenes playing out on Earth's surface. His greatest weapons were playing with human children. The creatures that had broken the will of 17 civilizations were now helping humans build houses and create art. Deploy the battle Devourers, he ordered his weapons officer. All 12 of them. Sir, are you certain? The battle Devourers are barely controllable even with full implant systems. If the humans somehow turn them... Impossible, Zakthul snapped. The battle Devourers have triple neural control systems. They are pure weapons, nothing else. 12 pods launched from the mothership, larger and darker than the previous ones. These contained creatures that had been modified beyond recognition, pumped full of aggression enhancers and pain stimulators. They were the Krythan Empire's final solution to resistant species. On Earth, Buddy and the other freed Nurthak felt their arrival immediately. The 6 creatures began making distress calls, harmonizing in frequencies that made humans weep without knowing why. Brother's coming, Buddy told Minho urgently. Broken ones, very hurt, very angry. Can you help them like you helped the others? Sola asked. Buddy's tentacles trembled. We'll try, but they have much pain, much madness. Dr. Nari was coordinating with teams around the globe. The neural implant removal surgery has been successful on all 6 creatures. We have 12 teams standing by with veterinarians and surgeons. These ones will be different, Captain Hyon warned. Intelligence suggests they've been more heavily modified. The first battle devourer crashed in the Australian outback. When it emerged from its crater, it was clear this creature was nothing like Buddy and his friends. It was bigger, covered in artificial armor grafted to its skin. Extra limbs had been surgically attached and its eyes glowed with an unnatural red light. It immediately began attacking everything in sight, roaring with voices that seemed to come from multiple throats. The Australian military established a much wider perimeter. It's not responding to our approaches, reported Dr. Martinez from the Australian team, and it seems to be in constant pain. Buddy could hear his brother's cries from thousands of miles away. The sound the battle devourer made wasn't just anger, it was agony. The modifications were slowly killing it. Hurts too much to think, Buddy explained to Dr. Nari. Pain machines everywhere, in body, in mind. Similar scenes played out around the globe. The battle devourers were destroying everything they encountered, but they weren't hunting humans specifically. They seemed to be lashing out at the world itself, trying to escape pain that followed them everywhere. Jiwan made a disturbing discovery while analyzing the readings from the battle devourers. Dr. Nari, these creatures are dying. The modifications are breaking down their biological systems. They probably only have days to live. Then we need to help them fast, Minho said. No creature should suffer like this. But getting close to the battle devourers seemed impossible. Unlike Buddy and the others, these creatures attacked anything that moved. The standard approach of offering food and showing peaceful intentions resulted in near-death experiences for several volunteers. That's when Sola had an idea. Buddy, can you sing to them? Not just talk, but really sing, the way you sing to me when I'm sad? Buddy considered this. Dangerous, they might hurt themselves more, but we'll try. That evening, as the sun set over Seoul, Buddy began to sing. It wasn't the complex melodies he had learned since his surgery. This was something deeper, older. A song that reached back to the Nurthak homeworld, to times before pain and slavery. The song was picked up by the other 5 freed Nurthak around the globe. 6 voices joined in harmony, sending their music across continents and oceans. Humans who heard it described feeling waves of overwhelming sadness mixed with hope. In Australia, the battle devourer stopped mid-rampage. Its multiple heads turned skyward as if listening to something beyond human hearing. For the first time since emerging from its crater, it went still. It's working, Dr. Martinez reported. The creature has stopped attacking. Similar reports came from all 12 impact sites. The battle devourers were responding to the song of their freed brothers and sisters. But as the song continued, something heartbreaking happened. The battle devourers began to sing back. Their voices were broken, distorted by the modifications that had been forced upon them, but the melody was recognizable. They were trying to remember who they had been before the pain. Dr. Nari realized this was their chance. All teams approach slowly while they're distracted by the music. We need to get scanning equipment close enough to map their implant systems. It was dangerous work. The battle devourers were still unpredictable, but the song seemed to calm them enough for brief approaches. Teams around the world worked through the night, dodging massive claws and tentacles to take the readings they needed. What they discovered was horrifying. The battle devourers didn't just have neural control implants. They had pain generators, fear enhancers, and rage amplifiers. Dozens of devices had been surgically inserted throughout their bodies. The creatures were living in constant agony. Some of these implants are designed to cause seizures if we try to remove them, Dr. Nari told the global coordination team. We'll need to be very careful about the order of operations. How long do we have? Captain Hyun asked. Based on their biological readings, maybe 48 hours before their systems start shutting down completely. It was Buddy who suggested the solution. All together, he tapped out. Remove pain machines from all brothers at same time. If one feels better, others will remember hope. Dr. Nari realized Buddy was right. The Nurthak were psychically connected through their music. If they could successfully operate on one creature while the others listened, the emotional and psychological relief might help stabilize the rest. They chose the Battle Devourer in Tokyo for the first attempt. It was the smallest and seemed to be in the best physical condition. Teams around the world prepared to operate simultaneously. But the Tokyo procedure would be the test case. Minho and Sola flew to Tokyo with Buddy. The reunion between Buddy and his modified brother was heartbreaking. The Battle Devourer tried to attack at first, but when Buddy began singing softly, it collapsed and pressed its massive head against Buddy's side. "Remember me?" Buddy sang. We swam together in deep waters. The Battle Devourer's response was barely recognizable as communication. Its voice was damaged, but the melody it hummed back was unmistakably one of recognition and love. The surgery took 18 hours. Dr. Nari and her team worked carefully, removing implants in a specific sequence to minimize trauma. Around the world, the other Battle Devourers lay still, as if waiting. When the last implant was removed from the Tokyo creature, the change was immediate. Its red eyes faded to the natural brown of healthy Nurthak. Its artificial limbs began to shed, revealing the natural body underneath. Most importantly, it began to sing, not the broken cries of before, but the pure music of its species. The effect on the other Battle Devourers was electric. Even before their own surgeries began, they were calming down, remembering who they were beneath the modifications. Over the next 24 hours, teams around the globe performed the same procedure. Not all of the Battle Devourers survived. 3 died during surgery, their bodies too damaged by years of modification. But 9 creatures were successfully freed. And each liberation sent waves of joy through the psychic network that connected all Nurthak. The freed Battle Devourers were different from Buddy and the original 6. They were larger, more scarred, and would need extensive rehabilitation. But they were alive and aware, and for the first time in decades, they were free from pain. Commander Zakthul watched his ultimate weapons become Earth's newest refugees and felt his empire's power slipping away. But he had one more card to play. "Prepare the orbital bombardment," he ordered. "If we cannot break them with fear, we will break them with fire. Sir, that will destroy the Devourers as well. The Devourers are lost to us. Better to destroy them than let them live free." But Zakthul had underestimated both human ingenuity and Nurthak memory. The freed creatures remembered things about Krythan ships that their former masters had forgotten they knew, and they were very eager to share that information with their new human friends. "Ship weak spots," Buddy explained to Captain Hion, drawing diagrams with his tentacles. "We know all secrets. We built those ships." "You built them?" Dr. Nari asked in surprise. "Before slavery. We were engineers, builders. They used our knowledge against us." Sola grinned and patted Buddy's side. "Then it's time to use it for us instead." The liberation was about to begin. Commander Zakthul had made his final decision. The orbital bombardment would begin in 6 hours. Every major city on Earth would be reduced to ash, along with the traitorous Devourers who had betrayed their purpose. But in a command bunker beneath Seoul, the most unlikely war council in history was planning the Krythan Empire's downfall. Humans sat alongside massive alien creatures, sharing intelligence and strategies that could save not just Earth, but potentially hundreds of enslaved worlds. "The ship has 3 main power cores," Buddy explained, using his tentacles to draw detailed schematics on a large screen. "We designed them to be efficient, not defended from inside." Captain Hion studied the drawings. "You're saying the Krytha built their ships using Nurthak engineering?" "All ships," confirmed the freed Battle Devourer from Tokyo, whose name in the musical Nurthak language translated roughly to deep current. "We built their empire. They stole our work." Dr. Nari was examining biological scans from the mothership. "If there are more Nurthak aboard those ships, hundreds," Deep Current sang sadly. "Maybe thousands, all with pain machines, all waiting to die or be freed." Jiwan had been working on something that seemed impossible. What if we could get the liberated Nurthak onto the ship? They know the layouts, they know where their people are being held. "And how exactly do we get giant sea creatures into space?" Captain Hion asked. Sola raised her hand like she was in school. "The same way they got down here, in those pod things." Everyone turned to look at the 8-year-old girl who had started this whole revolution by giving an alien monster head scratches. The transport pods, Minho said slowly. They're designed to carry Nurthak safely through space. Buddy's tentacles trembled with excitement. Yes, we know pod systems can fly ourselves. It's insane, Captain Hyan said. But he was smiling. A rescue mission using the enemy's own transport technology, guided by liberated prisoners who built the targets in the first place. Insane enough that it might work, Dr. Nari agreed. The plan came together quickly. The 15 freed Nurthak would be divided into 3 teams. Each team would take modified transport pods to different sections of the mothership. Their mission was simple: locate and liberate as many enslaved Nurthak as possible while disrupting the ship's ability to bombard Earth. But they wouldn't be going alone. I'm coming with you, Minho announced. Papa, no, Sola protested. It's too dangerous. Someone needs to perform the surgeries to remove the control implants, Minho explained. And the Nurthak, trust me, they'll need familiar faces if this is going to work. Dr. Nari stepped forward. I'm going to. We'll need a full surgical team. And me, Jiwan added. Someone has to document this for the history books. Captain Hyan looked at the volunteers. A veterinarian, 2 scientists, and 15 former weapons of mass destruction who just wanted to go home. This is the strangest rescue mission in military history. The modification of the transport pods took 4 hours. The Nurthak's engineering knowledge proved invaluable. They knew exactly how to alter the pod's life support systems to accommodate humans and extend their range for a return trip. As the teams prepared to launch, Sola insisted on recording a message for any Nurthak they might find aboard the ship. Hello, she said, speaking clearly into the camera, while Buddy translated her words into Nurthak musical language. My name is Sola, and this is my friend Buddy. We want you to know that you're not monsters. You're not weapons. You're beautiful, intelligent beings who deserve to be free and happy. We're coming to help you remember who you really are. The message was loaded into the pod's communication systems. At exactly midnight, 3 modified pods launched from Earth. The Krithan sensors detected them immediately, but the readings confused the ship's computers. The pods appeared to be carrying devourers back to the ship, which made no sense. Sir, the Krithan sensor operator reported to Zak Thul. We have 3 returning transport pods, but they're not following standard approach vectors. Recall them immediately, Zak Thul ordered. Something is wrong, but it was too late. The pods had already docked with the mothership in 3 different locations. Airlock seals engaged automatically and the liberation began. Buddy's team headed for the main Nurthak holding areas. What they found there broke even the hardened hearts of the battle devourers. Hundreds of Nurthak were chained in holding cells, their bodies covered in control implants and modification scars. Many were barely conscious, kept in constant drugged stupors to prevent rebellion. Brothers, sisters, Buddy sang out. We are free! We have come for you! The response was immediate but heartbreaking. The imprisoned Nurthak tried to respond, but their voices were damaged by throat modifications designed to prevent communication. Minho and Dr. Nari got to work immediately, setting up portable surgical equipment. They had practiced the implant removal procedures so many times that they could perform them quickly, even in the chaotic environment of a spaceship under siege. Meanwhile, Deep Current's team had reached the ship's power cores. The battle devourers used their enhanced strength to tear through security barriers while Deep Current guided them to critical systems. Remember building this, Deep Current sang as he carefully disabled power coupling systems. Remember being proud of work, now proud to destroy it. The 3rd team, led by the Sydney Nurthak, whose name meant Tidewalker, had found something unexpected. Deep in the ship's lower levels were Nurthak who had been turned into living ship components. Their nervous systems had been integrated with the ship's computers, using their intelligence to run complex systems. Can you hear me? Tidewalker sang to the integrated Nurthak. We are here. You are not alone. The response came through the ship's communication system as the integrated Nurthak took control of internal announcements. Brothers, have been waiting so long. Across the ship, lights began flickering as the integrated Nurthak started sabotaging systems from within. Commander Zak Thul realized what was happening as his ship's systems began failing around him. Impossible. The Devourers cannot organize. They cannot plan. Sir, his communications officer reported, we're receiving a transmission from the surface. It's It's from a human child. Sola's face appeared on the main screen, Buddy visible beside her. Hello, Commander Zachthel. My name is Sola, and I just wanted you to know that your monsters make really good friends when you treat them nicely. You have doomed your species, child, Zachthel raged. Even if you take this ship, our empire spans dozens of worlds. Actually, came Captain Hyon's voice as he joined Sola on screen, we've been in contact with those other worlds. Turns out, once you show people how to befriend their local devourers, word spreads pretty fast. On the screen, video feeds from across the galaxy showed the impossible. Nurthak and various alien species working together, former weapons of terror now serving as protectors and friends. Aboard the mothership, the liberation was accelerating. Dr. Nari and her team had freed over 100 Nurthak, each liberation adding to the psychic chorus that was spreading throughout the ship. The freed Nurthak were not violent toward their Crethan captors. Instead, they simply ignored them, focusing entirely on freeing their brothers and sisters. The Crethan crew found themselves in the surreal position of being completely irrelevant to what was happening on their own ship. Power cores disabled. Deep current reported through the ship's communication system. Weapons offline. Engines offline. Ship is ours. Integration system severed, reported Tidewalker. Our computer-bonded brothers are free. Medical teams complete, added Buddy. All prisoners freed, ready for departure. But the Nurthak weren't finished. The integrated Nurthak, now free of their cybernetic bonds, revealed that they had been secretly recording everything for decades. They had documentation of every world the Crethan Empire had conquered, every species they had enslaved, every atrocity they had committed. We gift this knowledge to humanity, sang one of the elder Nurthak. Use it to free all worlds, end this empire of pain. As the modified pods prepared to return to Earth carrying hundreds of liberated Nurthak, Commander Zachthul made one last desperate attempt to salvage his mission. He tried to activate the ship's self-destruct sequence. Nothing happened. The freed Nurthak had thought of everything. Your ship will not explode, Buddy informed him through the communication system, but it will go to Earth peacefully. You will face justice for your crimes. 6 months later, Sola sat in her favorite spot in the field outside Seoul, reading a book while Buddy worked on his latest sculpture. The massive Nurthak had discovered a talent for creating beautiful art from recycled materials, and his latest piece was a monument to freedom that stood 30 feet tall. Papa says the last Crethan prison ship surrendered yesterday, Sola told him. That's all of them, right? Yes, Buddy confirmed, carefully placing a piece of colored glass in his sculpture. All species free, all Nurthak going home to rebuild. Are you going home too? Sola asked, though she tried to hide the sadness in her voice. Buddy's tentacles gently touched her shoulder. Am home, he sang softly. Home is where family is. Around them, the field that had once been a crash site had become a peaceful park. Human children played alongside young Nurthak, learning each other's languages and games. Former battle devourers, now healed and whole, served as gentle guardians and teachers. In the dist,